Welcome back. Just before the World Health Organization delisted Nigeria from the group of polio endemic nations, the Kwara state government organized a sensitization walk and public enlightenment campaign. Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed urged residents in the states to ensure children in local councils receive the required vaccination. The last known polio case in Kwara state was recorded 6 years ago.
Like I mentioned in my speech, that Nigerians should move away from the areas of residual superstition that has not helped us in moving forward as a nation. Let us begin to take examples of countries that have moved on through concerted efforts of collective responsibility and taking their destinies in their hands. Our parents should recognize the fact that, you see, there are no two ways to eradicating polio other than this method of ensuring that our children are immunized. It is.
Joining me now on the News at 10 to discuss Nigeria's journey towards being polio-free is the Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Mohammed Ado. Doctor, you're welcome to the News at 10.
Thank you.
So this really has been a journey for us. How did we get here? What were the stages we got through before we became polio-free?
Let me start by congratulating students and also appreciating stakeholders for the son and part that has resulted in these achievements that we recorded. The polio eradication journey commenced about 18 years ago, and it's been a mixed bag of success and failure. As we make progress, sometimes we get reversal. But the sustained progress and started in 2012. And in 2012, Nigeria accounted for over 50% of the burden of poliomyelitis reported globally, with the country reporting about 123 cases in 2012. So that really was a very challenging period for the program. And what we did really was, because the whole world was accusing Nigeria of being the country that is holding the world back with regard to the polio eradication program initiative. So what we did really was to establish the Emergency Operations Center in 2012. We also brought into the program accountability in terms of ensuring that people are held accountable for their action. And for those people that do well, we encourage them by either reward or motivate them by commendation. But for those that don't do well, we also sanction them. Secondly, we establish the Emergency Operations Center. The Emergency Operations Center is a departure from the past, in which the program is, being run based on not information driven, not data driven. But this time around, we are guided by data because we are regularly in contact with the fields, with the local government areas, with the states in terms of what is happening. And with that, we are able to bring down the number of cases in 2012 from 123 cases to about 53 cases in 2013. And by 2014, we only reported 6 cases nationwide.
Doctor, thank you so much for all the statistics you're giving us. And the World Health Organization, as much as it was congratulating the Nigerian President, Muhammadu Buhari, did say that we still need to do more to stay polio-free and to sustain this status. So how do we sustain the status?
Yes, let me clarify. There is a difference between interrupting transmission of poliovirus, being removed as a polio endemic country, and then being polio-free. If a country attains a year without a case of poliovirus, that country will be said to have been, interrupted transmission. So we are 15 months now. So we have interrupted transmission, but we still need to go 2 years extra with good surveillance system in place for us to be able to be declared as a polio-free country. And the program is committed to making sure that never again this country will any child be paralyzed by poliovirus. So we'll continue with our polio campaigns. So you'll be seeing our vaccinators going to houses, moving from house to house, immunizing children. We'll also continue with our routine immunization, we intensify routine immunization so that we will encourage parents to go to health facilities and to benefit from routine immunization. And we also intend to intensify our surveillance system in such a way that we don't miss cases. So that when we say there are no cases, really there are no cases. And so I want to use this medium to also call on the states, local governments, and parents to continue to work with the program. Because yes, the country has interrupted transmission. Yes, the country has been removed as a polio endemic country, but there's a difference between being removed as a polio endemic country and then being polio free. Our goal, ultimate goal, is to be declared
eventually to be polio free. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed Ado, for joining us on the News at 10. We do pray that we eventually realize the status of being polio free, not just the interrupted status in Nigeria. I've been speaking to the Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Mohammed Ado. To education now, Nigerian students are making big gains in the world and gathering global interest from educational institutions. Much earlier this year, Harold Eke, a 17-year-old born in Nigeria but relocated to the United States as a child, made headlines when he was offered all of the 8 Ivy League universities he applied for. Our correspondent Karen Chambers tells us more.
Prestigious Claridge's Hotel, London.
And I'm going to talk about global education.
A gathering hosted by avant-garde academia and Ascent Education advisors, providing services for the growing niche market of Nigerian parents with aspirations for their children to gain admission into Ivy League universities in the United States.
More students are studying internationally than ever before. And the demand gap for quality and elite education is growing exponentially. More people want top education because education is a differentiator.
Bismarck Rawani has built a stellar career in business, held top positions at global companies, and is a passionate advocate for opening elite educational doors for the Nigerian diaspora.
The American universities have the money to buy the talent, and therefore, over the years, they've outperformed other countries. Now, 19% of total foreign students going to school outside their country go to school in the United States. That wasn't the case 20 years ago.
With such tough competition, why are Nigerian parents sidestepping UK institutions such as Oxford and Cambridge in favour of institutions thousands of miles away in the United States?
A big difference between American and UK universities are that the UK universities, they care mainly about your academic results and what you've done in relation to the subject that you're going to study. What are your leadership abilities like? Are you going to be a future leader in your community? And evidence of that often starts early.
From Princeton to Yale, Harvard, Cornell and Columbia, it's a fiercely competitive race to gain entry.
If you look at the demographics, even within the UK alone, Nigeria accounts for at least the 3rd largest intakes in terms of universities, behind only China and India, making sure that our youngsters attend the Ivy League schools and the top schools. Therefore, you can have the next batch of lawyers, the next batch of doctors, the next batch of bankers.
If you want your child to gain admission at a top US university, then the preparations start from as young as age 13.
I have 4 of them. I have 3 boys and a girl. And I'm interested, it'd be nice to have all 4 of them go to an Ivy League university in America. I think education there is so diverse. It's so complete.
So I guess both the UK and US system appeal to me, but I would just like to be open to both options.
Acceptance rates into the Ivy League are fierce, with Harvard at 5.3%, Princeton at 7.9%, Yale at 6.8%, and Stanford at 5%.
First and foremost, it's priceless. You cannot exchange that for anything else. If anybody was to come and say, I'll give you $10 million so that your kid doesn't go to Harvard and has to end up somewhere else, you wouldn't accept it. No, it's priceless. So in terms of utility, you get the best.
Bill and Hillary Clinton, Michelle and Barack Obama are just some of the world's most influential people with an Ivy League education. Who knows, if all goes to plan for these young people, they could be the global economic powerhouses of the future. Karen Chambers, Channels Television News, London.
Let's check in now with Anne Wawodo, who has business news.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The IMF has released a new report predicting dire consequences, economic consequences, for Africa and at least 8 oil exporting countries led by Nigeria and Angola, Ghana, Zambia and even South Africa. In its latest African Economic Outlook titled Dealing with the Gathering Clouds, the International Monetary Fund is forecasting that sub-Saharan Africa is likely to grow 3.75% this year and 4.25% in the year 2016. According to the IMF, this is a very big drop from the year before and after the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis. The fund noted some bright spots though, most notably Ivory Coast, which is scheduled to expand as much as 9% this year due to an investment boom that followed the end of a brief civil war in 2012. Operators and authorities in the Nigerian securities market want Nigeria's infrastructure deficits addressed through the country's debt capital market. A workshop of the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange in Lagos played host to these capitalists and regulators, where they addressed some of the gaps that will facilitate the market for improved infrastructure in Nigeria.
The workshop is organized by the FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange in collaboration with the International Finance Corporation and the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. The platform becomes an opportunity for regulators and operators to exchange ideas on how to bridge liquidity gaps for infrastructure development in the country.
In order to be able to get the debt capital market to really take its place, the major issue to be addressed is actually interest rates.
We see the insurance industry as a major partner, potential partner that can help us to develop this market.
Speaking on how to address Nigeria's infrastructure gaps, the Corporate Services Executive Commissioner of the SEC, Mr. Zakawanu Garuba, says Nigeria's infrastructure master plan can be funded through the debt markets.
We welcome plans by the federal government to launch a 25 billion emergency fund for investment in infrastructure. We are confident that a substantial part of that fund can and should be raised from the domestic debt markets.
Other organizers further explained that the country's bond market remains largely untapped.
Nigeria's capital market is noted as one of the most important capital markets in sub-Saharan Africa, but I think I can safely say without too much fear of contradiction that we are really at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to realizing the benefits of debt capital markets in driving private sector growth in Nigeria.
We can, through our debt capital market, bring prosperity to our nation. Let us rise to the challenge and make what seemed like impossible possible.
Over the years, Nigeria has funded infrastructure mainly from budgets. The chief executive of FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange, Mr. Bola Onodele, says this is no longer sustainable.
Capital market doesn't want bad debts. Capital market ensures the right process and the right disclosure for people to, take on what they want. But when you start putting long-term assets on the balance sheet of the banks and they cannot sell off these assets, you start creating, hiccups for everyone.
Nigeria's debt capital market grew from a 7.1 trillion annual volume in 2012 to a current 5 trillion monthly volume. These operators are confident that the debt market holds the future for Nigeria's infrastructure.
Well, it was another day of bearish sentiment at the Nigerian Stock Exchange as key indicators dipped further to end the session at 29,572.90. Temple Ashaju has more.
Hello and welcome to Stock Market Reports. The bearish sentiments continued on the floor of the Nigerian stock market as key indicators dipped further despite gains recorded by market heavyweight Dangote Cement. The all-share index declined by 0.86% to end Tuesday's session at 29,572.90. Market capitalization dipped to 10.16 trillion naira. The top three losers were Guinness, Unilever and Stanbic IBTC. On the other hand, Better Class, Dangote Cement and CCNN caught the attention of investors. Tuesday's top volume drivers include Access Bank with 21.97 million shares traded, as Transcorp with 19.88 million and Continental Insurance had 13.51 million shares. At the end of the day's session, volume traded decreased 141.27 million shares worth 1.36 billion naira exchanged in 3,218 deals. And that does it for the Stock Market Report. I'm Temple Ashaju.
Thanks a lot, Temple. The red color was also seen in markets across the globe as major equities ended negative today. Let's see those figures now. And that's it on Business News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Anne Mwawudu. Amarachi will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
You first. First Bank.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Segun Odegbami will not contest the next year's FIFA presidential election after failing to meet the deadline to submit his nomination form. We'll have more in sports news. Please stay with us.